I thought before I got started, I wanted to tell you how I first heard about VLC. And believe it or not, it wasn't from Mike Beatty, which is kind of shocking. Had I known about the boot scooting, I would have heard less about it. So I'm in my second week on the job. I still don't actually even know what my job is. I'm barely learning. And Maureen Frazier, can you stand up for a second? Sorry, I know how much you hate this. The incredible leader of our field organization comes into my office exceedingly apologetic. And she says, I'm really sorry, but I actually need you to make a decision. I said, oh, this is going to be good. Well, Maureen, as she always does, came incredibly prepared with spreadsheets and PowerPoints describing all of the reasons why VLC should move to Dallas, Texas. And I will say, by the way, Texas has a reputation for doing things big, and holy cow, did you guys do it big? So thank you to our Texas colleagues. There are a lot of you here. So she has this beautifully laid out presentation, and I say, well, of course, I'm entirely supportive of moving off the East Coast and being a little less Bethesda-centric. I only have one question. What's VLC? So she shared with me what it was, and then my next question, I've asked a lot of stupid questions in the last year, is this something I go to? And then she shared with me. So I have spent the last 11 months learning and hearing more and more and more about VLC. I was stuck on a chairlift for 2 hours with Mike Beatty, and I heard about VLC for roughly 95% of those 2 hours. And then, and Mike, you stole my story a little bit, so, we culminate, I get here this week, and I got here, Sunday night I was in Houston at an event, which was awesome, by the way. Monday I was in Oklahoma, and I got here Monday night, and Tuesday I walk into the wonderful Northeast Texas office here in Dallas, and I see this enormous pile of boxes underneath a big sign that says VLC do not use. So everything had been shipped from wherever, I guess Bethesda, down to Dallas, and then they were going to move it in here probably Wednesday. So what I got such a kick out of, though, was exactly what Mike said. There were 12 boxes of Kleenex. So that was kind of the conclusion of my learning about VLC, that what we were really going to learn about is a pretty emotional experience. So that's how I learned about VLC. Before I go too far, we have most of you visiting here are visiting with your local offices. And I've been spending a lot of time trying to visit and meet as many of my colleagues as I can. And we've made a lot of change in the field organization over the course of the year. We've added a couple of extra field directors so that we now have 7 regions that are actually geographically aligned. We are investing in our people. Some of the feedback that I've heard personally from you, is how painful turnover is. So we're going to invest in the career development and talent development of our team for their sake and for all of yours. And we've made it very, very clear that you can advance your career wherever you should choose to live in this country of ours. That we are not going to be quite so Bethesda-centric. So I wanted to make sure I shared all of that. And now I want to tell you about some of my aha moments. So, sorry, Preston, you don't escape. So my interview process for this job started about 1.5 years ago. Felt like it went on forever, by the way. But the final step in it was a dinner with my wife, Alyssa, and I, with Preston and Elaine and Mike and Lynn, actually. So the 6 of us are out to dinner, and as soon as we get there, Preston immediately splits Alyssa up, so I can't kick her under the table, I can't talk to her. I have no line of sight to what Preston is grilling her about. I think basically he spent most of the night interviewing Alyssa. And she was not happy about it, by the way, and she'll get you someday. But then at one point, he's talking about the wonders of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And I hear Alyssa say, so I don't get it, Preston. What makes this place so different? And he had a really simple answer, and it has stuck with me for 11 months. It's the community. That was his answer. So that made me curious. What is exactly a community? And this was the dictionary definition. So now it's early May. I had wanted to take a couple of months off. Preston said no. That's how we started our relationship. And he said I really needed to be there to attend a Board of Trustees meeting in the second week of May of last year. And we have a number of these folks here in the room, and they're amazing. And the night before the board meeting, they actually took the time to introduce themselves to me. And the thing that struck me is I'd been in a lot of corporate boardrooms before. But inside of 20 minutes of this 45 minutes that I had with our board, everyone in the room is crying. And all I can think of is Tom Hanks in that movie saying, "There's no crying in baseball." And that's when I started to realize that perhaps this community is a little different, and maybe I have an awful lot to learn, and I still do. So that's when I hit the road to learn from my colleagues and to learn from all of you. So this map represents where I've been. I guess I haven't really been everywhere, man, yet. Sacramento and San Francisco, Kansas City, Alabama, Mississippi, Atlanta, South Carolina, Charlotte, Raleigh, Connecticut and Albany, Minneapolis, St. Louis. I'm coming. And I'm sorry I haven't been there yet. But I have visited all of these other offices, and I've tried to soak up as much knowledge as I can. So what I'd like to do is share what I've learned from you about you, if I can. So where I'd like to start is in Wichita, Kansas. I had the privilege of attending their annual meeting, their annual thank you for their volunteers just a few weeks back. And I heard a story that really caught my eye in terms of how you define community in this community and how different it is than perhaps I thought it was. And the story goes like this. So Tiffany, who might be here somewhere, I'm not sure, she had reached out to her top Great Strides teams to ask them if they could each of them could raise $1,000 more. And there's a young couple that has 2 daughters with CF that live in a town called Burton, Kansas. It's about 30 or 40 miles from Wichita. It's a small town, population around 900 people. So what they decided they would do is they decided they would have an auction. And a couple of weeks after this, they called Tiffany to say, "I think this might be a little bit bigger than we thought." More than 2/3 of their community came to their auction. They raised $60,000. But the coolest thing that was sold at this auction is this. So it's a grainy picture that was taken on a cell phone. So this family with the 2 daughters with CF, the 2 young daughters, they're ranchers. And this is a picture of the dad. He was helping another rancher herd cattle away from a wildfire that you can see the smoke in the background. This is not from some Western movie. This is somebody's cell phone picture. They blew this up and they sold it at the auction for $1,600. That's what community is, and that's what community does. So now we're going to go back to my map, and we're going to take a trip. We're going to stay in the Midwest on a 65 balmy day in Iowa in the middle of February. And this is a sentiment that I have heard reflected countless times in my travels, including in a book that I was just handed when I read what you wrote, Margaret. This is not a family that you would ever choose to join, but if you had to choose a family, wow, did you choose well. So that's how you guys define community, and that's a pretty incredible definition. So then I tried to learn, who are the people in this community? Now, obviously, family members are incredibly passionate. If there are any CF grandmas in the room, you guys are forces of nature. I can firmly tell you, I am terrified of you. But I want to talk about some of the other community members that I've had the privilege to meet. So I think a lot of you had the privilege of being down at the North American Conference in Orlando back in October. And we had a reception for volunteers, and there were a couple hundred people, and some of our CF rock stars that you just got to see up here. By the way, I hate speaking after you, and we'll never do it again. So Mike, Bill, never again. They were up there answering a bunch of questions from people in the audience about science, about access, about all sorts of things. And then this young boy stands up, an 11-year-old boy, who I've now met a few times, actually. He has a 19-year-old sister who plays lacrosse in college, who has CF. And he just stands up and raises his hand and he says, "How much money do I need to raise to make my sister better?" So I guess it affects siblings too. Then after I go to Orlando, let's move over to Houston, Texas. I'm going to do a bunch of Texas stories. I can't help it. Sissy Boyd, who's here somewhere, she has a bunch of her board members over to her house. And I get to talking to one gentleman, and he's telling me a story about, I said, so, one of the questions I always ask is, why are you involved? And he said, well, I was a young executive at an energy company, and our CEO encouraged all young executives to get involved with charity. And I decided on cystic fibrosis over 20 years ago because I thought as an orphan disease, maybe, just maybe, I could make a difference. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. He said, and then the community hooked me, and I have never left. And then he shared the follow-up story, and one thing I didn't expect to go do was get great parenting advice on the road. But he said, my wife and I just had one of our proudest moments. Our kids have graduated college, they've moved away, and they both recently called us to say they've engaged with their local chapters and are helping their local chapters fundraise for the CF community. And I was like, wow, that is incredible. What an incredible story of community. Then I'm going to head up to Chicago. I'm at their annual thank you meeting, and I meet a woman who's been involved for, I believe, 16 years. And I ask her the same question, why are you involved? And she says, well, my son was diagnosed as having CF when he was born. And we found out 2 months later he actually did not have CF. But I felt so fortunate that there was an organization like the CF Foundation that I decided I would stay involved. And that's when I started to realize that our volunteers, our community, our teammates, they come in all shapes and sizes. And it is a remarkable community. And then I started to continue to travel. And what I really started to learn, and we've talked about this a lot, there's so much good news. And yet, it's not all good. We have work to do. There are people that are suffering too much loss, and some of this is just too damn hard. So I started to hear some of those stories. So I will take you to an annual meeting in Detroit, Michigan last November. And I meet a gentleman who every year, he and his family sponsor an award that is given to the volunteer that for their chapter does the most, who has no connection to CF. And every year they've sponsored this for the last 10 years, since they lost the second of their two sons post-transplant. And he came over to me afterwards, and I told him what a privilege it was to meet him. And he told me the story of his two boys. And he said, you got to fix this transplant thing. So this is, we have work to do. But as you've heard, we're working on it. So that's one story. Then I'm going to take you out to Utah, to Salt Lake City. And I'm out there, and I hear a story about a family, a CF family that has food insecurity. And the honest truth was I didn't know what they meant. And what I came to find out is that they didn't know where their next meal was going to come from. And that the stress of having a child with CF and managing all of their care and paying for food was a stretch. Thankfully, our community rallied, found a local food bank, and has drawn connective tissue now for members of our community that are struggling. But what a shame it is that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we can't afford our people access that makes them able to eat and get care. So we have work to do. Mary, I know you guys are busy. We have work to do. And then I want to go down to Arkansas. The care model, Bruce, I know you're there, you're trying to look away. The care model, I will tell you, it is to me the most remarkable story of data-driven collaboration in medicine that I've ever even heard of, let alone gotten the privilege to learn about. But we're not everywhere. And the best news in this community is we have half this community that are adults now. Well, that also means they're more mobile. And we can't support adult care centers everywhere. We just can't, because we can't compromise the integrity of the care model. And these are not pop-up clinics, guys. This is not simple. This is hard. And we're going to continue to think about it. We're going to continue to focus on it. But we still have work to do. So you have all of these things, and you start to hear these stories, and they weigh on you. But then what I've learned about this community, and this is not news to any of you, is holy cow, can you inspire? So I'm going to take you to Denver, Colorado, and I'm going to tell you two quick stories from Denver. And I wish Kathleen was here, because you guys are part of one of them. But first I'm going to take you to a breakfast I had. I had a breakfast with a board member in Colorado. And as I always do, I asked him his story. Why is he involved? And he has an 11-year-old son with CF. His son is on Kalydeco and is living an entirely normal life. And he said, but I'm not, if anything, I'm re-energized. I'm giving more effort now than I was before. And I said, walk me through it. I'm trying to understand. He said, well, there are so many people that have suffered so much that allowed me to enjoy this. How can I not respect that? He said, and also, the same exact time I joined the board, there was another family with a son roughly the same age. Obviously, the boys can't be friends, but as parents, we certainly have become friends. And he has 2 nonsense mutations. And there's no way he would ever leave me behind. So how on earth can I leave them behind? So I'm like, holy cow. So, please know you've heard this. We are in this until it is done. There is no compromise on that. We are in this until it's done. So then I want to talk about the people that we really do this for, and that's people with CF. So I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of, in particular, young adults with CF. And every time I meet them, I am just stunned by their grace, by their fortitude. And this journey starts in Denver, Colorado again, with a young woman named Piper. And I listened to her speak. And I was supposed to speak after her at an event. Much like I don't like speaking after Preston, Bill, and Mike, I learned then, as I learned again in Houston on Sunday night, you never, ever, ever get up on a stage and speak after somebody with CF because their voice is so powerful and their voice is so incredible. And your daughter is, I'm privileged to call a colleague, is incredible. But then I want to go down to Orlando, Florida. So we'll continue my journeys. So we give an award down there at the annual meeting to a young man who has CF, the CF Star Award at their annual meeting. And this young man gets up and proceeds to take the mic and say, give me a second, and proceeds to go into about a 3.5-minute long spoken word poetry piece about his journey through life and through CF. Every jaw in the room is on the floor. Eyes are wide. I would encourage you to go check out our blog because it got posted live this week, and it is an incredible testament. And what he shared with me is, all I really want to do as a young adult with CF is inspire other young adults to make it through this period of time that is so hard to stay compliant so they can enjoy the health I'm enjoying. So again, these people are incredible. And then I want to go, kind of close to home. I want to go to Baltimore, Maryland. And I don't know if Josie made it down. Did Josie make it down? You are down there? Okay, you guys are over there. So I went up to meet the team in Baltimore, and they had a young woman, and Mike certainly knows her very well because he cares for her. They had a young woman come in to meet me. And she walked in, and I would never have known she was sick. She walked in with a smile from ear to ear, and then started to tell me her story, and the smile never left her face. She said she was as healthy as she's ever been. She was at 39% lung function. She told me that she can't work full-time, but she's thrilled to be able to work part-time as a nurse. She can't work full-time because all of the coughing has done so much damage to her back, and still the smile hasn't left her face. And then she says, I've tried yoga and other things to do work for my back, but every time I lay on my back, I start coughing up blood. So I really can't do much right now other than work part-time. And again, the smile hasn't left her face. So as I've discovered with this community, a picture gets taken. And later that night, my phone beeps, and it's a text from her. And it's a text that says, "Thank you" to me. And I said, wow, is this backwards? And it closes by just saying, is there anything else I can do for the foundation? And all I wanted to do was go to work. I just wanted to get in my car and drive to the office and get back to work, because there's no amount of work that I can do, that we can do, that's good enough for that. So that brings me to kind of my last observation, and that is that gratitude is a very virtuous circle. So the last place I'll take you on my journey through the United States is to Buffalo, New York. I like the fact that I'm ending in Buffalo, New York, because I grew up in upstate New York. So in Buffalo, New York, as I was leaving a local board meeting there, I was handed a box, a gift-wrapped box, and I didn't know what it was. And I opened it up, and inside of it was this beautifully wood-carved box that had a buffalo on the top. And enclosed in it was a note. I wanted to give you something that you could collect the thank yous from your community in. He said, I am sure it will be full soon. And guess what? It is. So now it's my turn. It's a virtuous circle. Personally, you have given me the most transformative year of my life. Professionally. Not personally. Sorry, that's my kids. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. But the real privilege I get is I get the privilege of working with 600 and some odd remarkable colleagues. The work that you do as our teammates, the embrace that you give us, is what inspires us to come to work every day. And for that, all of us are incredibly grateful. So thank you. If the slide can go up now with the questions, I am all game. I guess I got an iPad I got to use. All right. All right, so what is my top focus for next year? Staying home. No, I think we have spent, it has been a year of listening and learning. Learning and listening from the community, learning and listening from our team. And now we have to turn some of those learnings into action. You know, when you take a lot of time to ask people what would make their jobs better, and you take in that feedback, if you don't do something with it, it rings very, very hollow. So while we don't have any magical fix that, we can snap a button and make everyone's jobs better, that really is the key focus for next year, is to create a better working environment and better talent development, better career development for everybody that works in the foundation. All right, let's see what's next here. See, I don't have a moderator, Preston. No, it's okay. I'm just teasing. Does the CFF have any programs that help families or people with CF when they are struggling to afford care and necessities? Do you want me to do this one, or you want to, Mary? Yes, we do. And it's called Compass. And I would encourage you to look for information about Compass. There's a program table outside, I believe. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about Compass, Ozzy, in a breakout session. So Compass is an incredible program. Compass, they're navigators. That's what they are. They help you with insurance issues. They help you navigate this rather complex world of healthcare and affordability. So I would encourage you. So the answer is yes, we do have those programs. What are we doing to reach families who do not have a foundation office nearby? This, much like the care model challenges, this is a challenge for the foundation. I have met teams of people who support Great Strides Walks that are 10 hours from their office, here in Texas, actually. So we can't open offices everywhere. We are working on models to try to figure out how to expand our geographic reach. We have a few pilots running now that I think are going to be interesting to see. It takes a lot of support to support an office. It takes a lot of people to support the economics of an office. I think one of the things that we are doing, though, and I don't know if Drucy is still here, but I think she might be in the back. We're doing a lot more, particularly as it relates to our adults, to draw connective tissue within our population. So the fact that this is all being live streamed, the fact that we have a community partnerships group, the fact that, and you'll be hearing from Drucy later today, I believe. These are the ways that we're trying to draw connective tissue from the community. The blog is an example of a way to draw people in that don't have a local office, to provide them information. The improvement in the Clinical Trials Finder tool, all the things that we do with our website, these are all tools that we use to try to help those who do not have an office nearby. They also obviously help the people that do have an office nearby. All right, what else do we got? So I answered that one. Let's see. How can CFF help the nonprofit healthcare field forward? That is a great question. I actually feel it's probably better directed to some of the folks here. But let me just share a quick experience with you. I think it was probably my third or fourth week on the job. I was meeting the parents of one of my daughter's friends, and from camp. So I didn't know these parents before. She goes to a sleepaway camp. These people live in New York, and we just got to talking, and the woman explains that she works at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I just started at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Her immediate response was, we wake up every day trying to be just like you. I have now heard that. I hope you realize that what you're applauding is yourselves. So this is you. This is what this community has done. We are asked on a regular basis, and in fact I know Mary Beth is doing this soon, to speak to other organizations about the model. And it's not just about venture philanthropy. I think that's the most popular thing that people like to talk about, but it's about way more than that. It's about the care model. It's about the registry. It's about Compass and advocacy. It's the whole package. And really, where it all starts is in the field with you. And I'm not yet qualified to give one of those talks, but if I was to give one of those talks, that's where I would start, because I think that's where it begins. It begins at a grassroots level. It begins by building a community, as you guys have defined it. You've defined what a community should be for any disease state advocacy organization on the planet. That's what you've done, is defined it. Now just other people have to replicate it. It will take them a long time. It's unfortunate, by the way. I wish all of them could have the same success. All of us have friends and family members afflicted by other diseases. I wish there was a CF Foundation for all of them. That would be pretty awesome. All right, I still got a few minutes here before they're going to kick me off the stage. From feedback of the chapters you've met, what have you identified as the biggest challenge outside of people retention? The CF Foundation is a complex business. We have 70 offices that have the majority of our employees, and those offices range in size from 1 to 13. So it's an incredibly dispersed business model. So we have, the majority of our employees are in offices of that size. And I think the biggest challenge that we have, and candidly, the luxury that we have now, is that we can invest differently in the future. We need to improve process, and we need to improve technology. Now, the technology, I know our IT guys are here, they have done a remarkable job over the course of the last year. Our offices no longer have to go to Panera to get Wi-Fi. Isn't that kind of cool? But in all seriousness, it's been a tremendous amount of effort by our incredible IT organization to get out to every single office, almost, so don't yell at me, anybody here who doesn't have Wi-Fi yet, and add Wi-Fi. And now we're in the middle of a laptop refresh similarly. So that's a start, but then we need to improve our business process. This is it's a complex organization that grew incredibly fast, and as a result, there's the processes of a small organization that are not really scalable to the size of our current organization, and we need to make our processes easier. It should be easier to work here. What else we got here? I'm running out. That's good. What one additional thing would you like to see the private sector do to better support the mission of the CF Foundation? Give money. That would be too easy. I don't know. I think that is a great question. I think one of the challenges that, thanks to the brilliance of the people that I work with, that we're not facing right now is there's lots of interest in CF research right now. And there's lots of private interest in CF research. I think if you fast forward, however, about 10 years, one of the challenges that we could face is when we are down to, we are in this until it's done. The question is whether private industry will have interest in those last few percentage points. So I think anything that we can do between now and then to make sure that they have interest for those, and I'm sorry, I'm answering a science question, which is always dangerous, because I'm not a scientist, nor do I play one on TV, I think that would be a concern that we would have, is how do we keep, and I think that's something that we're already thinking about. A lot of the science that we're engaged in has applicability that is more broad than just CF, so I think we'll be successful in that. But I guess that would be more of a concern than an answer to the question. Now I got to get back here. Uh-oh. I lost my questions. I think I answered them all anyway. But hold on. Maybe not. Here we go. No, I got one more. I got two more. How do you retain talent at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation? I think we retain talent by providing, let me tell you what I think the first thing that retains our talent is. You. Hard stop. And it's not a close call. There's nothing that's even close to second. So it's you, it's you, it's you again. And then maybe there's some other things. I think it's the other things that we need to work on the most. But this community and the bright star of this mission is what keeps people here. It's why we have so many people that have been here for so long. I get it, sort of. I'm a year in, but I get it. You guys sink your hooks in fast. And they're very firmly planted, by the way. So, I think that's the number one thing that we do to retain talent. I think what I referred to earlier, making it easier to work here and focusing more on talent development and career development is the frontier we need to tackle. And it looks like I have one more. How will you communicate what the foundation needs talent-wise so we can direct resources to you? This has been asked twice, so I guess that's an important question. I think the most obvious place is our website, but I think something Preston referred to that I want y'all to think about is that, we're going to be a way more transparent organization than we have in the past. And as we continue to expand our remit to support this community, particularly this community that is more and more becoming adults, the needs of our community are expanding and growing, and so will the support that they need. So I guess the place I would go is our website. It's been revamped and revamped and revamped again. Our communications team does a remarkable job with it. That's the place to start, but this is a place to start. The North American is a place to start. Every local board meeting is a place to start. Every single annual meeting where we say thank you is a place to start. The more open and transparent we are about where we're headed, we will take all of your suggestions on talent. We will take all of your suggestions. We work on your behalf, and it's a privilege to do so. I've answered all of the questions that are here, so I guess that's it. And I've only gone 29 seconds over, so that's great. Thank you very much.